Hey folks, welcome to Rise Like Lions. I'm Kevin.
I'm Dave.
And glad you could be here with us today. And today we're going to talk about something that is maybe a little bit on the lighter side, but it deals with some issues that I know Dave and I talk about on a fairly regular basis. And it's a little bit of news that it's not necessarily super topical in the sense that a lot of this stuff played out really last week. But we wanted to take a little bit of time to think about how we perceived this whole event playing out. And of course, we are talking about the huge controversy of AOC and the dress.
Serious stuff.
Dun, dun, dun. Yep. Very important stuff, folks. Kind of joking about that. But anyway, so what went down? Well, basically, you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, the young congresswoman who is a progressive hero, progressive champion, and she went to the Met Gala, which is this, of course, hoity-toity haute couture fashion event, and she wore this dress, and the dress is a white dress. It's designed by Audrey James. And she is a independent fashion designer, and the dress says "Tax the Rich" across the back of it. And this is a picture of AOC posing with the fashion designer. And so, I think what was really kind of interesting when this happened, Dave, I think we were both following, the chatter about this.
I wasn't trying to,
yeah,
but there it was.
It was hard to ignore. But folks, what we encountered, I'll just speak first for myself, and then I'll get Dave's thoughts on this. What I encountered is a lot of different takes on this. So, and particularly, I was sort of interested in on what the left was saying about AOC's decision to go to the Met Gala, because a lot of people came after her pretty hard about this, and they were saying a couple of different things. One thing was, this is this, super hoity-toity, high fashion, big money event. It's like $35,000 for a ticket. And so a lot of folks came out of the gate really hot and heavy against AOC and said, how dare you spend $35,000 on this event to hobnob with rich people? And, it's just sort of a cheap publicity stunt, that sort of thing. And so... And then other people were saying, actually, good for you, AOC. Like, you went into the lion's den, so to speak, with a message emblazoned on your dress. That is, I don't know, Dave, do you agree with that message?
Sure, because, like anyone who's not in the lowest end, tax, sure.
Tax the hell out of them, With what was with incredible zeal, with remarkable zeal?
Remarkable zeal, that's the latest thing. It's so...
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's what we're saying in Canada anyway. Tax the rich with remarkable zeal. Yeah. And so other people were then giving her props and saying, actually, this was a good thing for her to do.
It struck me that 2 minutes in, I knew she did not pay for that. Actually, I knew that years ago. But it was also right at the beginning of this repeated. What do people listen to these days? What do they read? I don't understand. It's known fact that a certain amount of politicians and other things they're invited because there are other draws, or they're relevant to it in some way, for others who will pay that and come, which then supports the Met. And I mean... It's the arts, it needs some support.
Yeah, for sure, Dave. And so that's kind of interesting piece of information. Number one is that AOC did not spend $35,000 to go to the event,
nor for the dress, nor any of that.
No, she
probably not even for a ride.
Yeah, probably not. She was sponsored, right? And she was sponsored by actually the woman here who is in the picture. Like I said, Audrey James, who actually is Canadian, which is an interesting Canadian connection. She's originally from Guelph, right? It says designed from someone from Toronto, but actually she was originally from Guelph, I guess. But
see how I wasn't paying attention? I did not know that part.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting what you figure out when you read an article that goes a little bit
little deeper
in depth on this. And so, just, I guess my take on this, folks, is it revealed a few different things that I've seen happening on the left recently, and one is this tendency to be so hypercritical, and I kind of call it like the no fun left. Like it's not okay for someone, for instance, like AOC, who she is a smart, savvy politician, and I think she's a woman of integrity. She also happens to be a beautiful young woman, right? And I think she understands that. She uses her ability to attract attention. She has a certain degree of celebrity even. We have to be honest about that. Good for her. Like if she's going to try and use that to leverage attention for good causes, then should that be such a horrible crime? You know, I don't know. Should she be like horribly shamed for doing that? I kind of don't think so.
I don't know. At least reserve judgment is what I would say. You know, like it's like conservatives just do not do this. If they do this, it's to join in the foray after her because they don't perceive her as being in line with their values.
Conservatives hate AOC, but probably because she does stuff like this, right?
Right, and they're not very good at it. They only appeal to other conservatives. She can appeal to a broad range of people, and and a lot of young people, regardless of maybe their political leaning.
Yeah, and there's something to be said too for, and you know, it's weird, Dave, because when I was kind of growing up, you know, on the left, in the communities I ran in, there was a real alliance almost between artists and the activist community and the political left. And the idea was that you need to be using art and creativity and fun and almost like a kind of situationist approach to social change. And by situationism, folks, I'm referring to a movement back in 1960s France. It was like these young, angsty, intellectual, socialist university students who created what they called the Situationist International. Guy Debord was one of their key figures. But they were all artists and filmmakers and authors, and they wanted to use art to inspire people to change society for the better, right? And there was this sense that you needed a little bit of controversy and you needed a little bit of sexiness, you needed a little bit of fun and edginess, and that was part of shaking things up and creating change, right? And so I think, you know, this is just an example, and really even kind of a very tepid example, right? Because AOC, she's going, you know, this dress isn't super, you know, titillating or revealing or anything.
No.
Although it's really funny, I saw one commentator on Twitter sort of being like, and the dress is even really horrible and it doesn't look, and I was like, lady, AOC looks better in this dress than you will in anything you will ever wear ever in your entire life. Right. So just don't even go there, right? You know, it's like, what? So it wasn't scandalous enough? So that was part of what my reaction was, Dave, is like, what the hell? How far have we gone down the no fun hole on the left if we cannot even realize that, you know, people do need to, we need art, we need a little bit of fun, a little bit of levity, a little bit of creativity to get our message across. Otherwise, we come across as really dour and preachy.
Well, you know what, though? Okay, AOC comes in. Nobody knows anything about her. And I see stream after stream of messages, comments under things, and everything else, where instantly a lot of conservatives are saying, she's stupid. And she's not serious, and all these things. They hadn't even seen anything she would or could do, or nothing. They knew nothing about her. There's people from Arkansas and everything else saying that. They've seen nothing yet. It's an immediate impression.
Definitely.
Somebody who's, you know, in business suit on Yonge Street happens to come across our things. They'll immediately critique it as, oh, they're not serious. They're not for real. They don't have whatever it is they expect to be in that, right?
Yeah.
It's immediate. Trudeau, some of it's borne out that he's a little not serious. You know, he's great at wearing headdresses and Hindu outfits or whatever whenever it suits him and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But that was said about him the first time he got into office, before he had done anything at all.
Yeah.
Purely on the basis of, I don't agree with his politics, and it appears to this person who, I don't know how right they must be to think he's left, but they perceive that, and instantly he's young and stupid and flighty and he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, he actually is a pretty serious person who, I mean, I'm no fan, but, you know, he had to educate young people. He was very good at it.
Yeah.
He had, he'd had his life started in politics. So he certainly had an intuitive understanding that most people would take him a decade of being in politics to understand. For him, it was like living and breathing, right?
Yeah.
And yet automatically it's ridiculous. They see an activist doing something a little garish or fantastic, but it's for progressive things, it's for the poor or something else. They're automatically, that's not serious. That's not, it's so in a way, I get that thing about feeling like you need to police it. It's like being worried about it because like she's behind the 8 ball instantly for existing and showing up there. There have been politicians showing up at Met Gala forever.
Exactly.
No comment.
And I think, Dave, I'm glad you mentioned, because the Trudeau comparison is interesting, because you're right. He was a young, good-looking guy getting into politics, and because of that, because of our society, because we like looking at attractive young people in the media and stuff like that, he generated some celebrity because of that, because of his father too. But I think it is even a little bit different for someone like AOC, and it is this extra thing. I'm glad you mentioned all the people who tried to write her off, because she's a young, attractive woman that supposedly then she can't be smart, she can't be savvy, she can't be serious. She's all those things, I think. Me pointing out the fact that she's a good-looking woman is in no way to take away from those other things, but also it's a sad thing.
Two different things.
If you can't also just let her be that too, right?
Yeah.
If you can't let her be someone who is like, probably thought it'd be also pretty cool to go to the Met and to work with this designer and to participate in this sort of fashion event. And it kind of reminds me of what was going on too, where, there was these early promotional videos she did for the university she went to, where she was like dancing and stuff like that.
Oh.
And people love to just be like, there, see, she's
I've watched it 50 times. That was great.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm a Breakfast Club fan. So, but
look at her dancing and having fun. Like,
oh no,
what the hell? I know. And it's like, you expect that from conservatives, but I start to get really worried when I hear lefties start going there too, because I don't think that's where we need to go. I don't think that's a fair thing. And I think it's just a little bit sad because you're not letting this person express the fullness of her being, right?
It insinuates that the conservative view is what they want you to think it is, which is that is the bulwark. That's the default. That's feeding it. That's ridiculous. Stop doing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and that's the sort of thing, right? It's a trap we don't want to fall into.
We are going to be more acceptable and better to them if we just conform more to their ways and stuff. Well, that's been done to death.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years of doing that. Oh, when do you just acknowledge that? No, it's a tactic to try to cut you down regardless of what you do. It'll be done if you literally were perfect. If you match them exactly, it'll be done. It's only a tactic. People learn that and educate others that it's only a tactic.
Yeah, exactly. And so, at the end of the day, folks, and again, what we saw people, commentators on the left, YouTube commentators and media commentators, taking both sides of this issue, right? Some people whose opinions I respect really going after her and saying it was, in bad taste or whatever. Other people saying, no, wait a second, good for her, right? That was kind of cool. So I just thought it was important to sort of to give our take on that. But the one thing is, and I just want to set up, I think, further conversations that we can have about this, is it also ties into a little bit this question of how do we address the motivations of these political figures, right? Or of activists, of anyone who has any sort of profile in politics. How do we assess their motivations for action? And what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of people who will sort of look at, and they have already done this to AOC in other regards, and they're accusing her of being a sellout, of being sort of just like a corporate tool or whatever. And because maybe you don't agree with how she's approaching politics. And
maybe
so
you're jealous.
Yeah, maybe you're a little bit jealous too. That's a good point. But I think it's really important to talk about being critical of public figures, which is a very important thing to be, right? I know Dave and I both agree on this, right? We have to be, folks, as people who want to see real change in our society. We've got to push. It's the role of movements. It's the role of activists to push. and to hold people accountable. And we need to do that to AOC too. So this isn't about sort of giving her a pass or saying, oh, you can't criticize AOC, right? Because you're going to hurt her feelings. It's like, no.
Wait and see.
Well, exactly.
You don't know this. Can you read her mind?
The verdict's partly out, but
Yeah.
also too, it's understanding that you can disagree with someone's politics. You can disagree with their strategy, with their tactics, and that is fine. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is a sellout, is corrupt, is a bad faith actor. And I think we've seen too much of that, in our general society. Fair enough. So I don't just want to pretend I'm targeting the left here, but because I am on the left, I'm concerned when it's my own community that's engaging in this behavior, this sort of ad hominem, attacks. Right?
Stifling. I mean, there are some she will send the message of, this could be you too, look who I only was, look where I come from, and you could do this too. And also don't be afraid to speak up when you're there. Don't just automatically conform to what they want that to say, which is do not tax the rich, and then you just tell them all, well, you're ridiculous for that. You're being you're being a sucker, and you chill it again.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Because it's like that takes no courage. Like that takes no courage to walk into the lion's den like that. And, with that message, knowing you're already hated by all the conservatives, and now you're getting piled on by a lot of the left because you're not as you're not as hardcore and dour and you're not severe enough all the time. Like it's flipping ridiculous. So, folks, at the end of the day, just wanted to say, kudos AOC for doing that. I mean, is that gonna get the rich taxed? No, it's not. Is that going to be enough? No, it's not. However, did it add to the conversation? Yes. Right. Did it get a lot of people talking about it? Hell yes, it did.
I think so.
Yeah. So you know what? Good for you. So listen, at the end of the day, that was a bit of a lighter episode there. Just wanted to deal with a little bit of hot pop culture news from a lefty perspective, as we always try and do.
That picture stayed up there a long time, Kevin.
It certainly did. Yeah. It is not hard to look at. And, and I think it's okay to be real about that and also respect the living heck out of her as a smart, savvy politician, because I think she is. Even though I also sometimes disagree with her political strategy. Right?
Very much.
Fair enough, right? We can do this. We're adults, right?
But not her choice of dress.
Never. No, not at all. Especially not when it has tax the rich written across it. No. So folks, thanks for tuning in. Again, as always, if you liked what it is we're covering here and doing here, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, give the video a share. We would really appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you.